There are different ways to create objects in JavaScript, and in this video we'll discuss 6 of them. So the first one is the simple JSON object. So we, for example, we define an object called car and we say like this car has color and maybe the color is blue and maybe also the number of wheels, like 6 wheels, or yeah, whatever the number of wheels that we are using. So this is the first way to define the object in JavaScript. Second, or another way, is to use the object, like we define like new object. So basically we'd say const car is equal to new object, and in this case we define this one, and maybe we define like different properties inside this and the same properties that we used, and we console log it to make sure what we are using is correctly. So this defines it, and we see the object is created. The third way of doing it is using a function. So instead of using new object, we could also use like create a class basically, and then create an object from it. So we define const car is a function, and this is used sometimes is used like called the old constructor basically in JavaScript, because before that we didn't have classes. So we define function and we say this dot color is blue, and then this is just like the constructor. We define the object, so we would say const Porsche maybe, and we would say new car. This is like a brand car from what we have, and then we console log Porsche. We see the object is created. It says, oh yeah, blue is just a string. So we see the object is created here. Another way, which is a new one, which is the syntactic sugar or syntactic sugar of using this function, which is classes. So instead of defining as function, we remove this function and we remove this const and we say class. And we create a constructor, because now it's a normal class basically, and we add this dot color dot blue, and we'll still define the same object. Let's just add yellow just to make it a little bit more clear, and we see the car is now created as well. The new way, or there is a new method that exists in JavaScript which is called Object.create, and basically it creates an object from an object. So we have Porsche here and we create from it a new car. Maybe we would like to create something called flying Porsche. So the way we do it like this is like we call it like we're using extending on inheritance basically, and we say object.create from another object that is already created. We say Porsche and then we have our flying Porsche, and this is a totally different object. The thing is, by using object.create, you use the object, this one, Porsche, as a prototype for the new object. So if you open car, you would see the prototype is the old car. Maybe it is not clear here inside this one, inside the applications that we are using. Let's open the normal console because it would make it a little bit clear. And if we make it like this, we see the prototype and we see this is the old car that we created. Like it's just like maybe it's not appearing here in this tool, but rather this is the same console basically. So we see like car, this is a flying Porsche. I would also make it with strings here. And we see the flying Porsche and we see the car, and then it's as prototype, and prototype is the old object. So object.create would create it as a prototype for the old one. The last one, which is using the IIFE method or the IIFE expression, and I removed everything just to make it a little bit clear how it is working. So basically we define, instead of car, we define card. And usually what we would say, like using the normal function, we would say card is equal to function, and eventually we would add this dot maybe like items, and it has an empty array, and it also have like let's keep it items for now, just like a card, and it has a list of items inside this one. And what we usually say, we would say like const, and then we say checkout card is equal to new card. This is the normal way. So with the IIFE function, we just like do everything in a single place. So instead of defining cart and this cart as well, we just like take the whole function, like all of this, and we remove this. And instead of cart, we remove it. We add two brackets like this and this. And then we add this one. Why we going to do something like this? So basically it's just like a self-invocating method. And if we console.log it, we see it already creates the items that we have. And basically it's invokes, like it invokes the function again, or like not invokes the function again, but it creates the whole thing once without no names, like without anything. And the expression for this one, it's actually coming when you are importing a file. This is how it actually working. Like when this is like a separate file and you do import cart from, maybe like it's a file called cart.javascript, and when you define cart like this, you would see the expressions that we saw. So this is basically like similar to module bundlers or how they are doing it. Maybe inside your JavaScript code, you would not need to use something like this. It may be very rare. It may be like it's a module or something that you need to define it only once. Other than that, it's just when you see the final JavaScript, you would see it like this. So you are importing it, of course, like if it defines it at once. So yeah, these are the different ways to create object in JavaScript using like these different ways. And yeah, if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment and we will see you in future videos. Ciao.